good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. It's 1:02 p.m. We're a couple minutes late because we are having some technical difficulties with our platform right now. It's something that we are working on behind the scenes. Hopefully we're able to get you a full, uninterrupted show coming up here, but we're working on some different things with our recorded videos and press conferences from earlier today. Now, luckily, we have a live press conference going on right now. It just started. It is the House GOP members holding a news conference on Department of Homeland Security funding. If you recall, the Department of Homeland Security has been shut down as no funding agreement has been reached. Democrats have been insisting on certain regulations for immigration enforcement officers in order for that funding agreement to be reached. Today, we have a press conference from members of the House GOP on this situation. Let's head out live right now to Washington, D.C.
That the United States of America will not be pushed around. But while our troops are strong overseas, Democrats here in Washington are playing politics with our security right here at home. Nearly every single Democrat voted against fully funding America's homeland security. Think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. Every single Democrat, nearly every single Democrat, I think there was one, voted against funding America's security. Perhaps that's why they didn't stand during the State of the Union. But under the Biden administration, more than 380 people on the terrorist watch list crossed over to our borders. Around 100 of them were released back into the interior of our United States. That's not speculation. That's not politics. Those are the facts. And yet Democrats are still refusing to fully fund men and women who protect our homeland, our Coast Guards, our TSA agents, and the professionals working every single day to keep our country safe. That's not just irresponsible, it's absolutely shameful. We can debate policy all day long. That's part of the job. But we do not play politics with national security. We do not gamble with the safety of American people, and we do not leave our troops wondering whether we have their back. So right now, thousands of brave Americans standing watch against Iran's threats, and 6 have paid the ultimate price. To the troops supporting Operation Epic Fury, America and Republicans stand with you. We see your sacrifice, and we are praying for your safety. And when your mission is done, we will welcome you home with the gratitude in which you deserve. With that, I will turn it over to the chairman of our Intel Committee, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you. I thank our Chairwoman McClain for bringing us together.
See how fancy schmancy we are over
Very
here?
fancy. Very fancy. I want to first acknowledge the incredible success of Operation Epic Fury. This is a testament of the leadership of the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department. This operation has been a masterclass in American military superiority. We continue to pray for our safety of our U.S. service members, and we pray for the families of those 6 that have been lost in service to this great nation. Let me say one thing that's important to note. This is not a new war. The Iranians have been at war with the United States since 1979. This is a 47-year predicate, and President Trump had the courage and the resolve to say, not anymore, not on his watch. We're going to put an end to this.
Okay, we have cut out of House GOP members speaking about the Department of Homeland Security for the time being, because there is also a press conference happening in Austin, Texas right now with a police update on the weekend shooting. We know there was a mass shooting at a bar in Austin, Texas over the weekend. Police giving an update right now. We believe it's about that case. We're going to go live out to Texas. We may have time to get back to the House GOP at some point, but for now, it's out to Austin, live.
They were directed by the suspect's location by brave people that were caught in this nightmare, and they worked to move bystanders to safety and establish a secure perimeter. At 2:03, 3 officers located the suspect near the intersection of West 6th and West Avenue. The suspect discharged his firearm at the direction of the officers. The 3 officers discharged their firearms, striking him multiple times. Officers approached the suspect, took him into custody, requested medical assistance. The suspect was later pronounced deceased at the scene. Our suspect is a 53-year-old male. The Austin Police Department has had no contacts with this suspect. His only interaction with law enforcement was in 2022, and that was a check welfare in an outside agency. This call was referenced his mental health. As this investigation has progressed, APD has learned of additional victims. APD is now aware of a total of 19 people that have been struck by gunfire. 3 people, including the suspect, were pronounced deceased at the scene. The 2 deceased victims on scene were identified as a loving daughter and a friend, Savitha Sean, 21 years of age, and a loving son and friend, Ryder Harrington, 19 years of age. These are 2 people that were dearly loved throughout this community, and that is quite clear. Both young individuals with bright futures ahead of them. On Monday, March 2nd, one of the victims, identified as a loving son and friend, George Pedersen, 30 years of age, was pronounced deceased, and he had just moved to Austin 2 weeks prior. At this time, 2 victims remain at local hospitals, with 1 in critical condition. Before we begin showing the material, I want to acknowledge the complexity and the gravity of this scene. This viewing material that you're about to see is difficult to hear, it's difficult to see. We didn't do this for the shock value. This is about being as transparent as we can, and believe me, we had to look through video that was appropriate to release to all of you. But it was important, again, to understand the events that led up to this officer-involved shooting. In a video showing the suspect firing his pistol into the crowd is too graphic to show, and we will not share that publicly. We will begin by listening to 2 911 calls, and as you can imagine, we received numerous calls, 911 calls, which were hard to listen to. And these are the 2 that we're going to be sharing today. Second call.
Hi, Buford on 6th Street, there was gunfire. The cops are here, but everybody... Is anybody with you shot? Yeah, nobody shot within me, but I heard like 6 gunshots from inside. Everybody ducked down the bottom floor. It sounds like it was from the... we're just right outside. We're hiding between cars. Okay. We're behind you, bro. Over there, right? You heard that talk from inside? Yeah, there's cops running towards it. Just more would help out. There were 6 gunshots, and there was 3 more on the street beside Buford, towards the right, looking south. There was 3 more. I think those are the cops fighting against it. There's also more sirens coming in. Yes, we have a lot of help on the way, okay? Stay in a safe place. I need to go answer another 911 call, okay? Go for it. Thank you. We're fine. We're in cars. But answer another call, please. Yeah, stay safe, okay? We're all safe. All right. We're all safe. Thank you. It will be shot.
We're now going to listen to radio traffic.
That the shooter vehicle is going to be a Chevy Tahoe. They are saying somebody was shot. George 301 going 23. Units pulled the air. 6 or 7 gunshots. Director travel suspect.
George 301 CF Chevy Tahoe. DL4, 3. I do have 1 victim. Looks like he possibly shot it. We're right here on the side street. For the male. go full field. Also here about, we probably have about 6 or 8 people that are active in shot.
If we're going 23 with the medics at the clear, bring them in.
George Ray One is trying to be a CYOA.
That's an officer and
And
his assistants.
we're calling as many officers we can get. We have a lot of people running out. We get ready to get the crime scene as soon as we can.
CYOA has been started.
Unknown on where the suspect went, all we have is a white SUV.
505 off you command. RTF 1 is 23. 79, I'm in command. RTF 2, I have command. We're inside here first. We have at least one victim. Patient contact.
Responding units, we need you guys to clear 6th Street. We need EMS to have a route of ingress.
George 505, AXP is going to be 6 in Rio, 6 in Rio.
Right, 302 to responding units, I cannot stress this enough. You guys need to keep 6th Street clear. Shut it down if you have to.
On George, just let y'all know you pretty much have the city coming to you. You want them to stage at the main and dispatch from there. What do you guys need?
79, there are additional shots being fired.
That was to the west, that was to the west.
Those shots were on the on West Avenue.
You said AR-15, AR-15 to the west.
Backside is 1 down. Take them west out. Left move. 9 foot though. 9 come over.
Move to the now, on the street. Let's go.
Now we're going to listen to, or we're going to look at video, and this first video is from a parked vehicle that picked this video up. You can see our suspect come into frame. He has the AR in his hand. And this is a pedestrian that was walking by. Second video is our halo surveillance. That is our high activity location observation. And this is throughout downtown, at least that 6th Street area. We were able to capture this. And the red circle there is going to be, this is after he parked the vehicle and as he's walking eastbound on 6th Street toward the officers. This is what that's going to show. Interact here. The next video will be body worn camera from Officer 1.
Okay, so we are back here in the Live Impact News studio. Before they began showing, I mean, first of all, let's just acknowledge that is some very difficult video to watch, and we apologize to anyone who was not prepared for that. When we were listening to the initial portion of that press conference before they started playing video and audio, I certainly heard the officer say that there were certain videos that they were not going to play because they were too graphic. They said they did warn about how difficult some video would be that they would play, but they also said there was some video they wouldn't play because it was too graphic. I believe they said primarily the gunman shooting into the bar. Now, with that statement in mind, we went ahead and decided to show the duration of this press conference, thinking that the most graphic of the video would not be a part of this presser. However, the video that they have decided to show is remarkably graphic, difficult to watch. We still have it up on our live feed. It continues to be so. So we decided to come back into the studio here because we felt as though that video was perhaps too graphic to air here on Live Impact News. Now, it must be stated at the same time, this is the reality of these shootings. This is the cold, brutal, violent, and difficult reality of shootings in general and the mass shootings that we far too frequently have to cover here on any news station across this country. And so that should be noted in this discussion. With that being said, watching that video, airing that video on our platform when it is that graphic in nature is something that we try to avoid if we can, while still acknowledging the reality of these situations. Now, we still have the live feed up. The officer who began this press conference is back speaking once again. Now, that is concurrently happening as Virginia representative from right here in Hampton Roads, Jen Kiggans, has taken the podium at the House GOP press conference. So two different events happening right now, both of which deserve our live attention. We are going to go ahead and listen in on Representative Kiggans. Once Jen Kiggans finishes speaking, we'll go back to this Austin press conference that appears to not be showing video any longer. So first, let's listen in on Representative Kiggans from right here in Hampton Roads. Then we'll go back out to Austin, Texas. All right, out to D.C. first.
Families that they've left here in the homeland. We need to go ahead and stop playing politics. This is a time to be unified, a time to stand together with our military and our military families so they don't have to worry about that safety and security piece. So I couldn't be more proud of the men and women in my district. I couldn't be more proud to stand with them every day of the week and to remind them that not just me, but my entire conference, the people on stage behind me, and the people here in Washington have their backs. We support them every day of the week. God bless each and every one of them, and God bless our great nation, the United States of America. Thank you, and I give the floor back to our chairwoman, Lisa McLean.
Thank you. And Mr. Crawford, if you want to join me, Chairman Crawford, we'll take a few questions.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman, Chairman, other members. When it comes to the Department of Homeland Security funding bill, the Democrats' demands, as you know, are policy in nature: a ban on ICE operations at churches and schools, a ban on mosques, requirements of judicial warrants, etc. Are you, as a conference, any closer to agreeing to those demands, or some of those demands, or are you not, in which case the bill seems destined to fail again?
Let me take that. I'll take that. Listen, we've been clear. We funded ICE. We continue to fund ICE. We continue to fund our homeland. But we are not going to put Americans at risk. We are on the side of law and order. We are on the side of law-abiding citizens. All you have to do is compare and contrast the split screen. Take a look at who the Democrats are supporting. Illegals, sanctuary cities. All we're asking from the Democrats is to keep America safe and put Americans first and law-abiding citizens first. So what I find is a little bit funny is the party of masks, right, all of a sudden wants to unmask all the ICE agents. Just look at the contradictions. You should ask yourself why we're in this situation to begin with. If 20 million people didn't cross our borders, we wouldn't be having this situation and we wouldn't be having these conversations that we're having right now. So what I would ask the Democrats, protect the people that elected you to serve, and that's your constituents, and protect Americans.
One other point I'll add to that, one of the demands that's been communicated was that they wanted ICE to cease operations or to not operate within proximity of voting locations. What does that tell you? So I think, think about that. That means they anticipate there being a reason for ICE to be at polling locations, and that should tell you everything you need to know about where they stand.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, back here in the Live Impact News studio. As we said, Representative Kiggins has finished speaking there, so we are going to go back out to Austin, Texas, and listen into more on this press conference about the mass shooting at a bar over the weekend in Austin. Let's go live out to Texas now.
The resources that we spend on 6th Street, but this is why. I mean, we have to be prepared, and anytime that you're having a very dense crowd and people are out, we need to be prepared to go, and not just for police, but for medical purposes, all of those. And so this is just, again, to look at the cast, the strike team that we have in conjunction with fire and EMS. That's what responded to these scenes as well, is being able to get there quickly to address these situations. So they will remain, and as we move forward, any crowds that we have, we are a department, again, that practices best practices throughout the country, and people look to us to what we do. Having that group every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're in this room. They have these cameras up on 6th Street. All of this, they're being looked at. So it is something that we do for very large events, so we're ready and we're prepared to go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News. Thank you for staying with us. Sorry for that sort of sharp turn to a commercial break. We are navigating multiple live events, including a warehouse fire happening in Dade County in Miami, Florida. We're going to pull that up for you now. There it is right next to me on your screen. And just from pure observation, as you saw that zoom out and now they get in closer, this is a massive fire from what we can tell just from observing it. If we look at ABC 7 out of Florida, the report from earlier today, 1:05 p.m. Eastern, firefighters are battling a 4-alarm warehouse fire near the Florida Turnpike in northwest Miami-Dade, according to officials. The fire was reported near the 2600 block of Northwest 47 Avenue, north of Miami Gardens, near the Broward County line, just after 11 a.m. If anyone understands Florida geography, that'll give you a better sense of where this is. But even without that understanding, just from taking a look at this particular fire, I mean, that appears to be a massive warehouse. You have trees and trucks there in the front to give you a sense of the scale. And you can even see, it looks like the water that's being sprayed onto that warehouse fire is actually coming from the roadway that's sort of to the right of that warehouse. And again, these reports do include the fact that it's near the Florida Turnpike. We certainly don't know if that's the Florida Turnpike right there, but we do see fire to try and put this, or water to try and put this fire out coming from that roadway up there. You wonder, I mean, there's certainly other fire trucks that are a bit closer, especially in that top right corner. And then just look at the scale of the plume of smoke there. I mean, that has completely engulfed anything within that range. That is a massive, massive amount of smoke coming out of that warehouse. And as we can tell again from this report on ABC 7, that fire was reported just after 11 a.m. You would imagine that means this has been fought for at least 2 hours at this point. Again, we don't know that that is necessarily true, but if it was reported at 11, you would imagine it's been multiple hours of fighting that fire, and it continues to rage on based on what we saw in that video. Okay, it looks like this helicopter is relocating. We'll continue to keep tabs on that fire. We hope we don't have reports on possible injuries, but we certainly hope that nobody was hurt or injured or worse in that fire. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go live out to Virginia Beach. Right now, as we speak, the state of the city happening in Virginia Beach with the mayor, among other city officials and leaders, speaking at that state of the city. One of our reporting teams is out there, Layla Cox, and our photographer Connor Lambert out there right now. Let's listen in on what they have to say. It looks like right now it's a montage of just sort of good times that have been had in Virginia Beach, maybe different events and things like that being discussed. Okay, without further ado, let's head out to Virginia Beach now.
Fans that come down and watch, and it's just like all around good environment. And but yeah, the best part is it's an all girls event, so it's really special to have an event dedicated to all women.
It grows so much every year, like there's more girls competing, all of the events going on around it get bigger and bigger, so it's pretty cool to have seen how far this event has come over the years.
Supergirl special, I feel, because there's just so much energy in and out of the water. You know, it is the only girls event we have in the North America region. It's more than just surf competition. You have brands, you have music,
Skate comps, there's a soccer contest, volleyball, and a bunch of different workout events. And there's obviously the concerts, which is my favorite. Everyone loves to go to those.
Joan Jett's playing tonight. Like, I don't think it gets any more like empowering than that.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. There's a bunch of vendors and athletes, amazing performances.
We just had the Supergirl Pro Women's Leadership Panel. We have gamers, we have CEOs, we have filmmakers, actresses, singers, athletes, coaches, and it is just a conversation between all of us.
To win this, you get a cape, you are declared the Supergirl, and it's a really big deal.
Being the youngest to ever win the Supergirl Pro was definitely a pinnacle moment in my surfing career.
You know, it's all about empowering women and women in sports, and I just think that that's so special to have an event like that. You know, there's really no other event like it. This event honestly kind of inspired me when I was younger to chase that dream of professional surfing.
Here in Virginia Beach, the beach isn't just a getaway to relax, it's our competitive advantage. We are excited that our most recent data show that our city has hosted more than 14 million visitors. Visitor spending reached $2.6 billion as a far-reaching economic impact. When you factor in both indirect and induced effects, it's more like $3.9 billion in total economic impact. This economic ripple sustained 34,000 jobs and equate to approximately 20% of all jobs in our city.
A major priority in the City Council this year was focusing on planning for the city's needs. City Council updated its strategic plan, the Focused Action Plan. This plan translates the City Council's vision and goals into a strategy across 3 focus areas: people, places, and partnerships. The plan identifies priorities and initiatives that are essential to the city's growth and effectiveness. In September, the Virginia Beach City Council and Development Authority launched the Attainable Workforce Housing Performance Grant. Since its inception, 3 affordable housing developments have been approved under the program in Virginia Beach. These new developments will bring a total of 552 new affordable housing units for families.
Next, there are the CIP projects. These are the major capital projects that demonstrate momentum to achieving our community's goals. In 2025, our focus was on delivering on our promise for stormwater and flood protection, transportation improvements, parks and recreation upgrades, public safety vehicles, the resort area improvements, as well as town center improvements. These projects highlight the city's discipline in delivering long-term infrastructure to address our needs.
Bow Creek is one of the most important projects in our entire flood protection portfolio. It is a multi-phase, multi-year flood mitigation project that transforms a formal golf course into a massive stormwater park. It is one of the largest flood protection investments in the city's history. It is a signature example of how a flood protection program is delivering real, visible, and community-level protection.
While many of the flood protection projects are underground and may not be visible to the eye, Virginia Beach focused on enhancing our commercial corridors as well. The exteriors of our commercial spaces are very visible to our residents. It adds to the overall look and feel of our city. For 5 years in a row, the Facade Improvement Program has provided financial assistance to businesses and property owners seeking to enhance the attractiveness of their properties. Since the program's inception, the Virginia Beach Development Authority has awarded approximately $450,000 in grants to 69 small businesses, who in turn have invested $2 million in properties throughout the city. Our town center is experiencing rapid growth. That is spurred by the $200 million Pembroke Square redevelopment. It's helping to transform the area. And Amada Hoffler, now known as AH Realty Trust, their town center office space portfolio is nearly 100% leased. In this economy, that's an incredible indicator of confidence in one of our key business districts.
The city also provides critical support towards educating our children, including school modernization, safety upgrades, technology improvements, and capital needs. Virginia Beach City Public Schools serve nearly 65,000 students across 85 schools. It's a high-performing division with an A rating, a 14-to-1 student-teacher ratio, and a deep commitment in preparing the next generation of leaders for our city and our nation. Will our school board members and school administrators please stand up and be recognized?
From our schools to city operations, technology improvements are key to not only keeping up, but also to prepare us for the future. Virginia Beach is actively engaged in cybersecurity upgrades across our city systems, the modernization of public-facing services like permitting, payments, increasing the digital access of our residents, enhancing public safety through the use of technology, and using AI that improve efficiency and service delivery. This sends a signal that the city is not just building and maintaining its physical assets, but modernizing the digital backbone that is necessary to keeping the city moving forward.
We are looking to the future, anchored by the three pillars of our economy, but we are also reflecting on the history of our nation. This year commemorates the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War, which gave the United States its independence as a sovereign nation. With many key actions and battles taking place in Virginia, our Commonwealth played a vital role in helping our nation secure victory. From its founding ideas to its leading historical figures, so much of what established the United States in its early beginnings happened right here in Virginia, and Virginia Beach is part of that rich history. As part of the statewide celebration to commemorate Virginia's role in the 250th anniversary of American independence, we look forward to hosting Stars, Stripes, and Spurs Virginia Beach Military Appreciation Weekend this April at the oceanfront. This event, oh yeah, that's a good one. The event features the Bulls and Barrels Beach Rodeo, U.S. military equipment displays, and free concerts, offering a family-friendly tribute to our service members and honoring our rich military history.
For the 7,500 employees of the City of Virginia Beach, we are building a future that will leave a mark on our city's history. I want to thank the workforce who often goes unnoticed, but is the backbone of the Virginia Beach City government. They contribute every day to make our residents' lives better. Public safety, in particular, from our 911 dispatchers to police, fire, sheriff, EMS, and emergency management, they put themselves in harm's way for our safety. I'm pleased to announce that Virginia Beach experienced a 5-year low in overall violent and property crime in 2025. Public safety is just one core government service of many. So let's take a look at some of the other contributions of our workforce to our overall well-being.
Mabel, running the city is a lot of hard work. go to top gear. Go! Let's go to Town Hall Shuffle. Yeah. Yeah. Woo! Great project. Virginia Beach never stops growing.
And I bet you all thought the life of a city manager is easy. Oh, that was beautiful. Warren Buffett once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree long ago." Here in Virginia Beach, we see trees of growth and opportunity that were planted long ago. But we are also planting the new trees that will continue our success while growing and renewing our city. At our winter retreat back in January, we assessed the roles of our current city council. And I am proud to say that we may be diverse in our styles, but we are unified in our purpose. To our business community and friends of Hampton Roads, the Chamber of Commerce, you are the pillar of our community. And the active business community helped us get named the New York Times top global destination to visit in 2026. We are recognized for our evolution beyond the seasonable beach town, an energetic year-round jewel of the East Coast that offers something for everyone. I want to express my one special thought today. I feel much talking about the city. I must mention the recent loss of a great leader and a dear friend, Barry Knight. Barry Knight was a farmer, legislator, business leader, a kind and supportive friend, and most of all, a wonderful husband, father, and grandfather. He will be sorely missed. Our thoughts go out to his wife, Paula, and his children and grandchildren.
From being the DHS secretary to this new post at the end of this month. Unlike in his first term, where there was quite a bit of turnover in the cabinet, she is now the first cabinet secretary to be let go by President Trump.
Let's bring in our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, as we get this news now, let's just talk about how DHS changed under Kristi Noem's leadership. And it didn't take long for her to receive a lot of heat from critics.
Okay, welcome back. Live Impact News. We came out of the Virginia Beach State of the City because we're going to a special report from ABC, who is reporting that Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, has been fired. Let's go out to that special report now in full.
Too much money, and he asked the secretary about it, and she claimed that the president was engaged in this. Now, we just saw from our own reporting from Rachel Scott and others that the president is now claiming that that is not true. And again, this ad campaign stars Kristi Noem, and basically the message is to undocumented people leave now or be deported. And again, $200 million, and you could see these ads during football games, during the NFL, college football playoffs, the NBA, all types of major ad buys for this particular campaign, and that appears to have played a key role. To your first question, the bottom line is under Kristi Noem, there were some positives for the administration in terms of the border being shut down, but the way that the internal campaign to remove people from this country was executed is apparently played a big role in this as well. As Mary said, Tom Homan taking over after the situation in Minneapolis spiraled out of control.
And let's take it straight now to senior political correspondent Rachel Scott. I know you're en route to the Hill. You've been talking to your sources, Rachel. What's the word from lawmakers after Pierre just mentioned, of course, the testimony where apparently the president was not happy with how the former secretary performed during testimony?
Yeah, well, Kira, I'm told by multiple sources that President Trump was on the phone calling Republicans, calling allies, asking whether or not he should fire Secretary Kristi Noem. He was pointing out that he was clearly unhappy with that answer that she gave Senator Kennedy during these heated briefings and hearings on Capitol Hill just yesterday. I'm also told that there has been a lot of frustration with how Noem has handled several instances, not just this particular one on the Hill testifying before Congress, but also just a few days ago, it was her decision, along with one of her top advisors, Corey Lewandowski, to ultimately pause and put a hold on TSA PreCheck due to the government shutdown. I'm told by multiple sources that then White House officials had to intervene then to correct that. So this is coming after a lot of frustration, not only from President Trump, but also top members of his administration expressing concern about some of her actions, and ultimately the president making this decision today to now get Kristi Noem out and completely replace her, Kira.
And Rachel, let's talk more about the senator from Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, who now will replace former Secretary Kristi Noem there overseeing DHS. What more do we know about him, and your thoughts on why you think the president made this choice?
In these final hours leading up to this decision, Kira, I'm told that I was told that President Trump was working the phone, speaking to Republicans on Capitol Hill, and this is something that the president does, right? He likes to get on the phone with Republicans and allies, and he asks them questions. So one of the things he was asking them is who exactly do they think should serve in this role? Clearly, the president is concerned about one thing, a confirmation battle ahead. Senator Markwayne Mullin is respected up on Capitol Hill by Republican allies. He's someone that many Republicans, including top administration officials, believe could ultimately get through a Senate confirmation battle. Obviously, Republicans do have majority in the Senate right now. On top of that, Senator Mullin is also a firebrand. He is known for having some of these explosive exchanges, even on hearings on Capitol Hill. He is a fierce defender of the president as well. And top administration officials do believe he's someone that will be able to work more closely with the administration and more in line with the administration as compared to some of these recent incidents with Secretary Noem.
Rachel, thank you. I want to bring in our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky now. Aaron, you've been covering the Department of Homeland Security, the fight for funding, the outcry that it wasn't getting enough resources to do the missions that Secretary Kristi Noem wanted to execute. Your thoughts?
Kristi Noem's stewardship of the Department of Homeland Security, particularly the handling of the immigration uproar in Minneapolis, cost the Department of Homeland Security its funding, Kira. There have also been complaints by lawmakers in certain states over the way FEMA has operated and questions about readiness for natural disasters. Remember, the Department of Homeland Security has grown into this behemoth agency, but at its core is its title. It is meant to protect the American homeland. It was born after the September 11th attacks, and it appeared many critics of Kristi Noem had felt that she had become a distraction in that mission, Kira.
A distraction, and she was really, crucified by lawmakers when she made comments about domestic terrorists during that whole incident in Minneapolis when the immigration agents moved in and the death of those two advocates in Minneapolis. Just remind our viewers, Aaron, about that and how the talk really didn't stop once she made that comment, and she was questioned on it from the moment she made it all the way to testimony there on the Hill this week.
And lawmakers grilled her over her immediate characterization of the two, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, who were shot as domestic terrorists, and there was no real investigation that has ever been made public anyway about how these shootings occurred, so much so that lawmakers pulled funding for the Department of Homeland Security until ICE can reshape its mission. The department is effectively shut down, and it comes at a time when the nation is at war in Iran, and there are real concerns about the threats that brings to the homeland, and whether Kristi Noem, as the secretary, was up to the job, even though it seemed it's this $220 million ad campaign that really drew the president's ire and became the final straw, Kira.
You know, that's a good point. Let's bring in Pierre Thomas on that as well. Pierre, is there concern now, or is there a sigh of relief that a change is being made when we start talking about the threat environment and this ongoing war with Iran, and how there has been concern about issues here at home since those strikes started? And is, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin up for the task?
Look here, one source I was speaking to earlier this week said that the funding shutdown for DHS came at the absolute worst time. You have an ongoing conflict with Iran, elevated threat environment that already was challenging. And now this whole notion that because of the immigration challenges created in part by Noem and the leadership at DHS, that the funding would be blocked because of it. It could not come at a worse time. One source also talked about the fact that some of the people protecting former presidents are now working without pay.
Mary Bruce, when we think about this firing and the level and the position that Kristi Noem had, we could look back at Mike Waltz, who went from National Security Advisor to ambassador to the UN, and
as you can see, some technical difficulties with our special report from ABC. Now, it's an interesting bit of timing, as we've just heard that Kristi Noem has been fired from her station as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. We also had gotten word just before that happened that she would be speaking at this press conference, or not press conference, an event, the Sergeant Benevolent Association Major Cities Conference. That is what you see at the top of your screen. We were told by ABC she would be speaking at that conference before we learned that she had been let go as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So we're keeping an eye on that conference to see if she does, in fact, take the podium. That certainly is not Kristi Noem, a different individual speaking there. So it's something that we're going to keep a very close eye on. Obviously, if Kristi Noem takes the podium, we will head straight out there. Now, a lot of what we've done today has been on the Department of Homeland Security. We have heard from GOP leaders on DHS funding. We know that there have been various committees that have held hearings on DHS funding recently. And so there's been a lot of talk about this department, which cannot seem to come to an agreement to get that funding. Again, we'll state that the disagreement, the reason that funding has not been agreed upon, is because Democrats are insisting on certain regulations for Border Patrol officers, for immigration enforcement officers, rather, which would include no masks and body cameras. They have not been able to agree. Now Kristi Noem out as the secretary of that particular department. Now, Naya, I'm wondering if maybe we pull up the Truth Social post from Donald Trump that came down just minutes ago with a more full description of his decision here. Yep, well, let's go ahead and pull that up. We're going to stick with this. We're going to monitor the live event that former Secretary Noem is scheduled to speak at. For now, let's go back up to the top of this post here. I apologize. Thank you for your patience. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. I am pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st, 2026, about 26 days from now. The current secretary, Kristi Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to the Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas, a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere we are announcing on Saturday in Doral, Florida. Looks like it's now been announced a few days early. I thank Kristi for her service at Homeland. So, He goes on to speak a little bit about the resume of Markwayne Mullin, again, a senator from Oklahoma, who will now be the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So that, the post from Donald Trump just maybe 11, 12 minutes ago. Now, it looks as though our special report has fixed their technical difficulties, Naya. No, still struggling over at ABC?
No, the special report ended.
Special report ended. Okay, so the special report has ended. So we have a few things that we can do here. Why don't let's listen in to this conference that Secretary Noem was planned to speak at. Let's just take a listen in, see what's being spoken about, see if we can gather any sort of context as to whether or not she will be speaking. In the meantime, we'll review some of the other headlines that we wanted to get to today before this massive piece of breaking news came down. Again, once more, just for full posterity, Kristi Noem out as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, a department that is in charge of immigration enforcement and has not been funded for some time now, as members of Congress cannot come to an agreement on the funding package for that department. Okay, let's listen live to this conference briefly here for a moment.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S.
Okay, that is, well, that is what that is. So currently a performance going on at that conference for the time being. Not Kristi Noem speaking or anything that could really lead us to the conclusion of whether or not she will. Again, this is the Sergeant Benevolent Association Major Cities Conference. What we're going to do, because we have a brief moment, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this break with more on this story and others. Stay tuned.
We're now going to take this time to go out live to Kristi Noem, who is now taking the stand.
Is with us as well, but would you give all of those individuals who stepped up into a leadership position a round of applause for what they do to bring everybody together? Now, in his State of the Union address just last week, President Trump reminded us of what it is every American's duty to do, and that is to serve the American people. That's what the government is to do, those elected officials and those that step up into public service, is to fulfill our duty to protect American citizens, that they should come first under our Constitution and our laws, and they should be prioritized, and especially over other people who are from other countries. The Constitution demands that we treat our citizens that way, and the men and women who serve at the Department of Homeland Security, they understand the importance of that, and we also understand the importance of all of our law enforcement officers and what they do across the country to keep people safe. The department was formed after the horrific events on 9/11, and just 2 years later, as Congress put the department together with the support of the president, 23 different agencies who had a nexus and a focus on defending the homeland were put in order to make sure that they were all following the same mission every single day. So it's a very diverse department. It not only has FLETC in it that trains over 130 different federal law enforcement agencies and officers from those agencies. It also includes CBP, ICE, CWMD, which is Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction. So some of you may have gone through some of those trainings to help us detect some of the threats here in our homeland, and also some of the trainings that it takes as far as responding to fires and 911 calls in different specific situations. We have intelligence agencies. We also cover FEMA. FEMA is a disaster response agency, but it also is the agency that's entrusted to run the government on our very worst day. If we had a tragedy in this country where we needed someone to step up because our leadership was not able to, that agency would be entrusted to do that and to maintain our critical infrastructure. So they ensure that they go forward and maintain our electrical grid and our critical infrastructure such as water and systems that we rely on every day to help the American people be safe and to still have their way of life. We also have CISA, which some of you may have worked with them, which is our cybersecurity agency, which goes out and not only hunts down bad actors that would attack us on our cyber systems, but also gives us mitigation measures for how we can harden our systems. All of these entities work together to serve the American people and to make sure that we're prepared for any threats that we may face, but also respond to them in a way that honors what our ideals are. The sacred duty of our government, truly, is that people are entrusted to secure the rights also of all the American people. You know, the Declaration of Independence states that governments derive their powers from the consent of the governed, which is the people. The people give us the right to do our jobs each and every day. And as long as this world is fractured and as long as human nature is fallen, we will need brave men and women who step up and serve and enforce our rights and our laws and our values. And that's what all of you do in this room with your colleagues. The heroism was on full display this last week when we saw the attack in Austin, Texas, and we saw that the first responders that helped protected people and more lives there were our law enforcement that responded immediately. Instead of running away, they ran to it. And though we lost 3 lives and saw many other people injured, they prevented so many other lives from being lost. We're very grateful that they are willing to do that and to serve in such a way. In fact, it reminded me of the quote that is often attributed to George Orwell that states, "People sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalves," which means you step up in order to protect people, and you do it in a way that other people often are never going to be required to. When tragedies like what we saw in Austin take place, it's your leadership and it's your decision-making that make all the difference. You use judgment, and people entrust you with their lives. You're on the front lines of leadership, and you have the responsibility of guiding and also shaping the next generation. So we thank you for that, and we thank you for what you do. I know that I've met many of you in the room. I've had the chance to visit with you. I appreciate your wisdom and your advice as we continue to develop trainings and insight into how leadership can work together to make good decisions and to break down the silos between agencies so that we can work together more different, in better ways than we have in the past. And you know we're seeing challenges across the country from judges and courts that are working to stop some of our efforts, that are looking to take away some of the protections that you need in law to do your work. And then also we're seeing some challenges from sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. In fact, after I get done sharing a few more words, I want to hear your questions on ways that we can help you do your jobs. If you're in a situation where the laws may be a little different than it is in other states, or you may have unique challenges that perhaps we could work together on to find ways to help you bring criminals to justice and to protect your community from public safety threats. America is the greatest country in the world, and it's the greatest country in the world that has great cities and great communities. Regardless of where people live, we need to make sure that they have an opportunity to go to work every day safely and to send their kids to school safely every day. Sanctuary cities do give us a challenge because it makes it difficult at times for law enforcement to do their work. And we see that many times when a city cooperates with the federal government, cooperates with our federal officers, that it is safer. In fact, 7 of our top 10 safest countries in the nation are not sanctuary cities. They're cities where the local law enforcement partners with us. They partner with our federal agencies, with the FBI, DEA, ATF, CBP, ICE, and our operations. And we've also seen across the country where 5 of our 10 most crime-ridden cities do not cooperate with us, where those that are not cooperative with federal officers will see challenges on their streets. We've seen a lot of different situations from city to city. The one thing I would encourage you that no matter how frustrated you may be with some of that we can find a way to work together to do some good work for our people. In fact, even in Memphis, where we saw different leadership, we had different parties in the governorship and in the mayor, we still were able to arrest and bring to justice over 2,600 criminals, and in a way that significantly dropped their crime rate and significantly helped those communities continue to take those public safety threats off the streets. We got over 150 different illegal sex offenders off of the street. We saw one of those arrests included a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela that was convicted of aggravated criminal assault and abuse of a child. I'm thankful that that individual is no longer on the streets because of the cooperation of those local law enforcement. We have agreements across the country called 287G agreements. I'm sure you're familiar with them, but there is 3 different models that are available. One is a jail model that helps us with some detention. The other is a warrant service officer model that is extremely helpful for us to make sure that we can take jurisdiction or of an individual who's a criminal in the safety of an environment of a courthouse or a jail, and they can be turned over to ICE so that we have the ability to return them back home. And the other model would be in the task force model, which I hope many of you have the opportunity to cooperate with us in, where we can use our different authorities to go out and go after the worst of the worst, those targeted operations that go after violent offenders and criminal offenders, and that we can bring them to justice and get them out of your city and your state. We've seen that program go from before President Trump was in office to only 135 of those agreements across the country signed, to now we have over 1,400 of them in place. And it's been very beneficial to make sure that we've removed over 400,000 criminal offenders out of this country. We've seen 3 million people leave our country that were here illegally, but over 750,000 of them were arrested and detained and removed. We'd much rather prefer that they volunteer to go home and that it can be a volunteer situation, but if not, if people are here illegally and committing crimes, we want to make sure we're able to detain them and get them out of your communities before we create more victims in the United States. I'm grateful for the work that you do because it's made a difference across this country. This last year, we've seen our murder rate in the United States of America drop to the lowest level since it's ever been recorded. And we've recorded our murder rate across the country for 125 years, and this year we broke the record for the lowest murder rate in the country, and that's because of the work of individuals in this room and individuals that we've been able to partner with. We've also taken 1.7 billion lethal doses of drugs off our streets and stopped them from coming into the United States. That means 1.7 billion people will still be with us because of the work that our agencies and our work has done. Our Coast Guard is an important asset in the Department of Homeland Security, and they've worked with us, and maybe have worked with some of you in the room as well, to help interdict those drugs and stop them from coming into our country. You know, President Trump has been working hard to make sure that he's delivering on what he promised the American people, and that's to make America safe again. In doing so, we have gone out and found over 1,500 known and suspected terrorists that were let into this country over the open border invasion that we saw during the last administration. Those 1,500 individuals who are already on our known and suspected terrorist watch list have been brought to justice and removed. We know there's many more, but we're going to still continue to look for them, to find them, and to do all that we can to make sure that this country is safe. Beyond that, we've also arrested and removed over 7,700 gang members, TDA members, MS-13, Sinaloa cartel. The president is extremely focused on fighting cartels and recognize them as a foreign terrorist organization so that we can have new authorities to go after them. And we'll be working throughout the Western Hemisphere with all the countries to make sure that we're biting the snake off, cutting its head off, with fighting the cartels before they ever reach the United States, stopping the drug flow, stopping the guns and ammunition from getting here and hurting our families in the homeland. We'll continue to work together to make sure that we have the opportunity to do that. To everybody in the room that puts on a uniform, that wears a badge, that steps out every single day and does something that so few others do, put your life on the line for your brothers and your sisters and your families, and you do it in your home community, I want to say thank you. And I also want to let you know that I believe that if there's something that you need for your families, that you need to let us know. I've found many times people can't do their job with excellence if there's a crisis at home. I've been working to get raises and better salaries and retirements for all of our law enforcement officers that are at the Department of Homeland Security, because I recognize that if you're having challenges at home financially, providing for your family, working overtime to make ends meet, trying to buy a house and put food on the table, it's very difficult to focus on your job and to do it with excellence. We want to take care of our families. So all of your suggestions and ideas, bring them forward. I will continue to push for that because I'm a strong believer that we need you at the top of your game every day. And that means that your family needs to be right beside you, happy, healthy, and whole, and that God can continue to protect you and protect them and make sure that you have a chance at the American dream too. So with that, why don't we open it up to some questions? I know some of you may have some prepared and some of you may just thought, hey, I've always wanted to ask her this. You sure can. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. I don't know if you guys heard that question, but he talked about targeted enforcement, and Rob was saying how it's much more effective in a lot of, especially these sanctuary cities, where we can work on targeting those individuals who have a criminal history besides their legal status that may be in violation of their visa or work permit, but that we work on those and make sure we're going out and doing that with the local law enforcement as much as we possibly can. And that is something that we are going to continue to do and make sure that we're focusing and prioritizing those individuals and make sure that we're addressing the public safety threats there. Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay, let me visit with him about it. That'd be great. Well, we're talking about doing some other tax benefits for other, so that may be something we could wrap into that conversation. Great idea. Perfect. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Secretary. My name is Chris Callaghan. I'm the Vice President of San Francisco Police Officers Association. First of all, I just want to say thank you for recognizing major cities and all of our police unions here across the nation. It means a great deal for you to be here today, so thank you for that. My question, local officers have increasingly been on the front lines of Homeland Security, yet we are still funded and staffed like a city responsibility, not a national one. How will DHS ensure local agencies aren't carrying federal priorities on local budgets and with local staffing?
So you maybe have some challenges in San Francisco just because of your state laws and local laws that may, although you've got a mayor that works with us very well.
That's great.
He probably doesn't want me to talk about it a lot, actually, but he has been cooperative, and we have great conversations and talk quite often. And many times in doing law enforcement in your city, if the federal task force is coming in, you know, it's more preferable for the FBI to lead and the Department of Homeland Security to come in supportive roles, which is what we've done, and that works very well in your city. Thank you for your focus there too. I think the city is seeing some dramatic improvements
It has.
under this leadership. When you talk about funding, we have tied a lot of our funding that we have for enforcement this year and prioritized over $1.5 billion towards 287G agreements. So we've reimbursed departments that have an agreement, or a county or a sheriff, with funding them on overtime or on benefits, some of the other things that we can do. We've also, on the jail model, obviously reimbursed per beds. If you don't have the opportunity to participate in 287G, I think your best options for funding alternatives would be through some grants that we have at the department. We have specific grants towards terrorism grants that you can do, some security grants, and there's hazard mitigation grants that are in Homeland Security safety grants through FEMA that would be available. So maybe what I'll do is I will forward those grant opportunities to all of you so that you can share them with your departments and have that opportunity. We also have some grants specifically targeted towards special operations. So if you've got some special operations that fit into that category, we could get you some funding that way.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes. Hi, Craig. Yes. Mm-hmm.
One police officer and one sergeant called Border Patrol for assistance, and then after that happened, he tried to fire them for asking Border Patrol to come assist them.
Oh, shoot.
Most recently, they just suspended both officers for 30 days without pay.
The Border Patrol?
No, Detroit
Oh, those
police.
officers in Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit
Okay.
police. So the one incident was the female of the house called because the husband was trying to break into the house. When the officers got there, he had a bad passport and a bad Social Security card. So they called Border Patrol for assistance.
Mhm.
They ended up taking him to jail because he had a warrant outside the city of Detroit. The second one it was a traffic stop. The fingerprint reader wasn't working, so they called for them to bring theirs over there, and the person had a warrant also. So both officers got suspended without pay for 30 days.
So did the officers that did the arresting, was that the Detroit officers that did it, or did the Border Patrol?
Border Patrol ended up arresting
Did
them
they?
because one had an out the
I
city
see.
warrant, and
Yeah.
the other one had other information that.
Okay. That's
get-
one of the
get it
things
right.
that I think a lot of citizens don't necessarily know, is that CBP and ICE are law enforcement officers and do enforce other crimes that have been committed. But if we can be advocates for those law enforcement officers, we certainly will. And maybe we could come up with some kind of an agreement that would allow those officers to still be able to call on Border Patrol for backup and assistance when they need it. I hate to put them in a situation where now the officers in Detroit, when they need help and need assistance, that they can't call on Border Patrol when they might be the closest asset. So maybe I'll get some contact information from you and see what we can do to work out an agreement with Detroit on being able to call on Border Patrol with some guidance on how those interactions will work.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Secretary. My name is Don Famuina, and I represent the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers. First of all, I would like to extend our sincerest aloha and mahalo for all that you and your administration are doing. Given Hawaii's status as a major international gateway, how is DHS balancing the current administration's strict zero-tolerance border policies with the unique reality of Hawaii's isolated geography and its dependence on international tourism?
Yeah, you do have some unique situations for us, and I hope that we've worked well with you. We have a presence in Hawaii, where you wouldn't necessarily see a large ICE presence doing immigration enforcement. More of what we are pursuing in Hawaii would be through our TSA officials, and then also we have CBP there, of course, because of all the travel back and forth and individuals. CBP is the largest law enforcement agency that we have, one of the largest in the country, and it does all traveler information internationally, and so I'm sure that you're interacting with them quite often. So we don't, as far as targeted operations, you may see a presence in Hawaii if we know specific individuals there. And we are tracking and have signed security agreements with other countries. I think since I've been Homeland Security Secretary, we've signed 27 different security agreements with other countries to share information with us. If they have a dangerous individual that they think maybe has traveled into the United States, we will share those databases with each other. They share theirs with us so that we know when some of these individuals are coming into the country. And that may be, I'd say, the vast majority of the interactions you'll see in Hawaii. If you've got some suggestions for us or experience, I'd sure love to hear it.
We'll definitely do that. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Jeff Wader. I'm the proud president of the Rochester Police Locust Club, located between Buffalo and Syracuse, and just a shameless plug, go Bills.
Yeah, that's right, good.
So I used to have, my TFO is 728 officers.
Okay.
I'm currently down to 594. And I had 2 more come in the other day that they're retiring. And we have a very, very difficult time retaining our members, but also hiring. And I know this is a issue throughout the country, especially in larger communities. My question to you is the federal government and or the Trump administration, are they able to provide bonuses for retention and bonuses for hiring incentives to start building back our staff?
I don't know if we do for local and state law enforcement agencies. We have been doing that at our federal level with our departments, CBP and ICE. We have done that. We also, I put in the budget request a 10% increase for all of our federal officers. I wasn't granted that, but we're gonna get there hopefully in this next budget round. I will look to see what latitude we have to do that. We'd have to do it in a way of grants with restrictions that it could only be plugged into salaries and bonuses. I think. You tell me, we've done a lot of hiring bonuses, and for me it is just as important to do retention bonuses. I think it must be extremely discouraging for officers who've served for years to see other individuals hired.
Okay, we are very briefly interrupting this conference with Kristi Noem. We just want to give an update in case anyone has joined us recently. Typically, we would not stay with a conference like this for this amount of time. However, it was announced just moments before this conference started that Kristi Noem has been fired as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So we're staying with this just in case she does comment on that. Let's go back out live to the conference.
Hang on to them. Did you lose most of your people through retirements and early retirements like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Since 2020, we had our riots and our protests. Our projection right now is by 2030, 54% of my membership will be eligible to retire.
Okay.
And they're projecting that we'll be down to 500 officers at that point.
See, and that's our challenge at the federal level too. We've got Secret Service is under my department, and we see that though through other federal agencies that we've got the next 2 or 3 years a high number of retirements coming our way. We've done huge recruitment drives, and we've hired a lot of new officers, but we also need to hang on to them and make sure we're taking care of the ones that are with us. All right, let me look at that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hey. Good afternoon, Madam Secretary. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to answer our questions. My name is John Crystal. I'm a captain with the Newark Police Department and the president of the Newark Police Superior Officers Association. Question here is, how does the Department of Homeland Security foresee the current Trump administration reconciling federal policies with state policies in referencing to the sharing of information by local and state agencies when it comes to illegal aliens wanted for crimes? Some of our sanctuary states, just like New Jersey and Newark, they've implemented policies, executive orders, introduced legislation barring cooperation with the Department of Homeland Security with sharing of this information.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see that come out of New Jersey. It's been hard to see that. We've seen several states and governors stand up and say that they were going to stop cooperation and make it illegal to partner with us. One of the things that we need to do a little bit more is highlight how our 287G agreements can be flexible and can work differently. I'm coming to meet with a lot of the New York State sheriffs here real soon and get some ideas from them on ways that we can have informal agreements if necessary to do that. There's also, I found that a lot of sheriff's departments, smaller departments, don't necessarily have the technology they need as far as retina scanning or databases that feed into the federal systems. And if we can help with some technology funding and get that into these departments, it would help us on the national scale, the federal scale, but also help you guys be able to get people logged into the system, and at least we would know where these bad actors are. Even if there's not much cooperation going on as far as honoring our detainers or cooperating with us, at least if we know where these criminals are, we can still be aware for when they're released on the streets. But for us, our preference is to always figure out a way that we can work together. On enforcement operations, at least to be able to have local law enforcement provide backup or respond should we need officer assistance. Beyond that, it'd be great to have these communities honoring our detainers. But I will continue to go talk to these governors, have conversations with leaders and state legislators to see what I can do to push back on some of this legislation we're seeing.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, by the way, another question. Are you religious? Because you're the answer to all my prayers.
There we go. I am, sir. And who knew?
Oh, gosh.
Good deal. You're going to have to top that one. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a tough act to follow.
Right.
Let me
He
tell you
might
something.
be my favorite.
New York's always hard to follow.
That's right, it is.
Guys, okay. I'm Sergeant Walcott. I'm the Chief Steward with the Memphis Police Association for Memphis Police Department.
Well, look at you. You guys have been rock stars.
Woo! Y'all have been rock stars helping us out. So I don't get this up a little higher. Firstly, everyone in this room knows that Memphis has statistically been one of, and in some years, the most dangerous city in the United States. Mm-hmm. The federal support that our department has received since September of 2024 has been nothing short of a miracle. Our crime rates are much lower when compared to the same exact months the preceding year when we had no help. And I don't mean lower like the national average. I mean lower like our murder rate is down 35%. Mm-hmm. Our aggravated assaults are also down 35%. These are current numbers. Our robbery rates are down 58%. Mm-hmm. And our motor vehicle thefts are down 68%. I say all this to say thank you for this help. And it has been invaluable and truly proves that more law enforcement with reasonable but aggressive tactics equals less crime. My question to you would be the following. I'm extremely concerned about cartel activity, which you touched on shortly ago, all throughout the country regarding drugs and human trafficking, but especially in Memphis, as it's considered a hub for the cartels. Is ICE itself putting any extra special emphasis on cartel activity in particular, since their reach appears to be much longer than most people realize, and they reportedly even threaten agents with bounties? And does classifying cartels as terrorists help combat them from that? Is that a tool to help you combat them?
It does. When President Trump declared the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, it opens up the door for a lot more authorities that we can use to go after them. So now, and you've seen him obviously partner and take action against leaders even in Mexico, and that is just the start of the operation that we are undertaking as the Trump administration. Listen, what happened under the last administration, by having that open border, it allowed the cartels to get rich, to grow, to become, they had unfettered access, and their ability to make money was compounded over and over and over again. They could do whatever they want with the human trafficking and drug trafficking. So they are extremely, extremely wealthy and strong and sophisticated in the technology we see them using against us, and their ability to operate in cyberspace as well, and then with how they're using drones to bring drugs over the border now, and tunnels that are almost like pipelines where they're not even large enough to shoot people through, but they are enough to get drugs through. So we have all kinds of new challenges, and that's why President Trump is undertaking going after the cartels by addressing it from the Western Hemisphere. He will have a big agreement that I'll be there with him on Saturday with the Department of War and the Department of State on how we're going to go after cartels and drug trafficking in the entire Western Hemisphere. So this challenge, we've realized, is big. We've always known that, but if we're really going to address it, we have to look outside of our borders to kill off the cartels before they continue to build up more and more strength and keep killing our Americans. But you guys have done what, I think everybody in the room wants to grow up and be Memphis for what you did. But I would say that the work that happened, just so everybody knows, what happened in Memphis was their mayor was willing to work with us, who is a Democrat, was willing to partner with the federal government, and the resources and dollars that went in were not just from the Department of Homeland Security, The Department of War contributed. The Department of Justice contributed. It was incredible to see different agencies in the federal government go and show up and cover the costs of having that operation and make sure that people there could see a difference and they could see hope again. And people almost need to see it and feel it. That's what happened in D.C. when we did the D.C. operation. Is it took a few weeks for people to realize and feel the difference of what it was like to be in a city where you could walk down the street again, where you could go have dinner again. You didn't have to worry about your car being carjacked if you wanted to go out for dinner that night. And once people feel that, it's almost like they get to feel freedom again, and that's what Memphis is providing to them. So we need to figure out a way to tell your story to other cities and show them that it can be an opportunity to restore their way of life again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for
so
your
much.
leadership. You
Yes,
bet.
ma'am. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. You bet.
But the obvious difficulties and implications of having the sanctuary city laws and the states not supporting the feds and things like that. What are some of the vehicles that you guys can use or will use to try to, I don't want to say get around that, but work with the conditions that you guys are under to still be effective as federal law enforcement in those sanctuary city areas?
Well, if it's a sanctuary city, we have an opportunity to form partnerships then with sheriffs and do that in a state. Many times sheriffs are elected officials and they're accountable for what their crime numbers are in their counties, and they're very close to the people. So we find a lot of progress working with sheriffs and in those situations. If it's an entire sanctuary state, most of those sheriffs and police departments are concerned about liability issues and the laws that may be on the books. I would say that for all of you, though, to know that a sanctuary state looks very different from state to state. The laws may be completely different. So if you are interested, if you are a sanctuary state or city, I need to come sit with you or have someone from our team come sit with you, really go through with my attorneys your state laws and see how we could still work together and not have you live in fear of being punished or being held criminally liable for not abiding by those sanctuary laws. We can challenge them, and the federal government and Department of Justice is going to be challenging sanctuary states and laws. In fact, today in the House Judiciary Committee, they're marking up a bill in Congress that would ban sanctuary cities and states, that would use the supremacy clause. So if we could, it will pass out of committee, and I think it can pass out of the House. We're hopeful the Senate would take that up, but it's a constitutional compliant piece of legislation that would fundamentally change the way that we do public safety across the country. So if that can happen in the meantime, we figure out how we can work together to do notification of individuals that may be released or individuals that we could partner with you to get them out of your community. You bet. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. This is going to sound a little bit like a sales pitch, but it's not, I assure
Okay.
you. I work for a company called Vertex. We already have a very nice contract with Homeland Security, so this
Good.
doesn't count.
Good.
I bring a unique perspective. I don't have a question for you. I have a comment.
Okay.
I live just outside the city of Portland.
Mm-hmm.
I work on our federal team, so I work with your agents all over the country. HSI, ICE, Secret Service. I see them being treated like garbage in various places, up to and including with extreme violence. The perspective I bring is this: I have not worked with a better group of people, more professional, humble, quiet professionals. They're amazing men and women, all of them, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity to tell you that directly. So thank you very much. That goes to you, your staff, and all of your agents across the country.
Well,
thank you very much. and
Thank
thanks
you
for
for
being
saying
here.
that. I appreciate it. I will let them know that you said that. That means a lot to them. They face some challenging times. They have a lot of good days too, but they're just trying to do the right thing and make sure that we're doing the job and upholding the oath that everybody took when they signed up for law enforcement. So, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for letting me be with you. You have a fantastic meeting. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for coming to this conference and spending some time together.
Okay, so it appears as though Kristi Noem approaching that conference as business as usual. I'm keeping my eye on the screen as she says goodbye here, as are you. And again, approaching that as business as usual, a very unique confluence of events for us here on Live Impact News, where we get word that Kristi Noem, the person who you saw giving that speech at that conference, was fired from her post as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security by President Donald Trump. In fact, her replacement has already been named. A senator from Oklahoma has already been named. And yet she takes the stage at that conference, a number of comments leading into a question and answer portion. And as far as we could tell, we missed the first 25 seconds or so because we were in a commercial break. But outside of that, no mention that we heard of her getting fired from her position as Secretary of the Department, about which she just spoke for an elongated period of time. So, again, business as usual in terms of her comments, but nothing from her in regards to the change of position that she will be experiencing come the end of March, according to President Donald Trump. We showed you his post on Truth Social. We heard an ABC special report. Kristi Noem fired as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. That breaking news coming in about 10 to 12 minutes before she took the stage at that conference. We listened in its near entirety, and there was nothing in terms of what she had to say that would indicate that that had just happened. We don't know anything about her state of mind or, you know, whether or not she had been informed of this. It became very, very public knowledge before she had taken the stage, if the timing matches up with our live feed, which it typically does. But we do not know the full details. All we know is that it was not mentioned for the portion of that conference that we saw, but it has been mentioned by President Trump on his Truth Social account. One more time, Kristi Noem fired as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, let's listen in on Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, spoke earlier today. Nope, Nia Campbell is giving me the not yet because we do need to take a break. That's a great call by the People's Producer. Quick commercial break, then we'll hear from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We don't know if he spoke on the new Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security either, so we'll find that out right after this commercial. All right, back here in Live Impact News. As promised before that Drake, let's listen to Hakeem Jeffries, who spoke just moments ago in Washington, D.C.
This country, who work hard and play by the rules, aren't simply surviving, but they can thrive. because far too many people in this country are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. One of the challenges that we have in this country is that Republicans have decided to manage the public's money recklessly. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make your life more affordable. Instead, Republicans have decided to actually use it to enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors. That's what the one big ugly bill was all about. Republicans have decided to use taxpayer dollars to create a $75 billion slush fund to unleash mass and poorly trained, out-of-control ICE agents on American communities, brutalizing and in some cases killing American citizens and violently targeting law-abiding immigrant families. That's how Republicans have chosen to use the taxpayer dollars of the American people to manage public money. And now, of course, we've seen Republicans, led by Donald Trump, plunging America into another endless conflict in the Middle East, spending billions of dollars to bomb Iran. But they can't find a dime to make it more affordable for the American people to go see a doctor when they need one. Can't find a dime to make it easier for Americans who are working hard to purchase their first home. And they can't find a dime to lower the grocery bills of the American people. And instead, of course, the reckless Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year. Democrats are committed. This is the fundamental fight at this moment, to making sure that we jealously guard the resources of the American people and we use it to make life better for everyday Americans, not actually make things worse, which is what Donald Trump and the Republicans have done. Questions?
Mr. Leader.
Hi,
Good
Kristi
afternoon.
Noem has just...
Thank you. You served with Mark Wayne Mullen in the House of Representatives. He's been in the Senate for a couple of years now. He is somebody who's tight with the president. Is this an upgrade, in your opinion?
Well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it, and we'll see what he has to say when and if there.
What was your impression of serving with him in the House? Did you
I don't
ever
have
have any
I don't have any comment right now on what's to come. Let's focus on what's taking place right now. Kristi Noem is gone. Good riddance. She was a disaster, and House Democrats made something very clear several weeks ago. We said either Kristi Noem is fired or she's going to be impeached.
Does that change the ICE conversation?
And
Does that
Kristi
open the door to fund DHS now?
Kristi Noem has been fired, consistent with what we have demanded on behalf of the American people. But let me also make clear, a change in personnel is not sufficient. We need a change in policy. And that has to be bold, dramatic, transformational, and meaningful. And we've laid out 10 different demands standing on the side of the American people, including but not limited to judicial warrants, a ban on racial profiling, a prohibition on ICE targeting sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, polling sites, and houses of worship, a requirement that ICE agents are actually vetted through criminal background checks and actually trained, the implementation of a prohibition on the excessive use of force, which we've seen horrifically been unleashed on the American people, and of course, a requirement that ICE agents who break the law can be criminally investigated by state and local authorities. These are the type of policy changes that are going to be necessary to move us forward to ensure that ICE actually conducts itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country. That's our fundamental demand. Every other law enforcement agency in the country. So, of course, this change in personnel is welcome. Kristi Noem was a disgrace. And we made clear what was going to happen. One way or the other. It happened the easy way or the hard way. He's chosen the easy way. But now we still have work that needs to be done in terms of the policy changes.
Thank you, Mr. Leader.
Congressman Tony Gonzalez said yesterday on a podcast that he did have an affair with a late staffer who later died by suicide. At this point, would you support expulsion for Congressman Gonzalez now that he's admitted that?
He's violated the laws. If an expulsion resolution were presented before the House of Representatives, I would, of course, support it.
Would House Democrats investigate Kristi Noem as an ex-cabinet secretary?
We haven't had that conversation yet. But what we do know, as was gloriously exposed by Congressman Joe Neguse, she's a living, breathing article of impeachment in terms of the abuse of power and the corruption that Kristi Noem has engaged in. And we need to make sure that every single taxpayer dollar is accounted for, that she was allowed to brazenly abuse, if not personally benefit from. And so there will be continuing efforts led by Benny Thompson and Robert Garcia and Jamie Raskin and members of those committees to make sure that we are looking out for the appropriate expenditure of taxpayer dollars. And wherever that leads, it leads.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. After votes today, you all will go on a week-long recess. Can you provide any visibility to the American people about where the negotiation stands? Republicans and the White House continue to say that they've moved on some of the demands that you have made. However, right now it just seems to be a debate between, you say that they haven't moved enough, they say we're moving in their direction. What can you say to the American people over the next week or so, what they can expect while you all are out?
Well, it's unfortunate that the Trump administration and Republicans have decided that they would rather shut down FEMA, shut down the Coast Guard, and shut down TSA than dramatically reform ICE and get ICE under control, which is what the American people want to see happen. And this is a step in the direction of acknowledging that things at the Department of Homeland Security were broken. They had a corrupt political hack who was running DHS. Shame on every Republican senator who put her in that position when they knew she was unqualified. Now, in terms of the negotiation, we remain ready, willing, and able to talk with anyone, anytime, any place in a position of significance within the administration if they are prepared to make sure that ICE conducts itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country and stops brutalizing and killing American citizens and law-abiding immigrant families.
Really quickly, the last time, a few weeks ago, the administration took action, on TSA, global entry, and what some say was an attempt to put pressure on Democrats to move in their direction. Do you expect, if the shutdown continues to go on, that the administration will again try different ways to exert leverage and bring you all to the table to end the shutdown?
Trump administration is deeply unpopular. They failed again and again and again, and they're on the run, governmentally and electorally. And our view is simple. Abandon your my way or the highway approach. You're not intimidating anybody. They tried to break America within the first 100 days. And they failed to do it because the American people have held firm. And as Democrats in the Congress, we got to continue to forcefully push back. We'll do that in the courts, and we certainly will do that in communities all across the nation. And we're winning the hearts and minds of the American people. We just saw that again in Texas and in Arkansas. And we'll continue to see that all the way through November. Any normal administration would dramatically change course. But these extremists, continue to try to hang on to whatever mandate they claim that they had in the aftermath of the general election, even though the American people view them as a complete and total failure. But as long as they approach things with a my way or the highway mentality, then we're not going to be able to make any meaningful progress in a bipartisan manner on behalf of the American people. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Markwayne Mullin is one of Trump's most loyal allies in the Senate. Do you think, how can you work with someone like him as you're still doing negotiations on DHS funding? And further, what do you want to see from the next DHS secretary to be able to work with them?
But what we have to do right now is deal with what's in front of us, which is DHS has been shut down by Republicans because of their refusal to actually agree to a set of bold and meaningful but common sense demands that are designed to get ICE under control. The Senate is going to handle their process, and we'll see what happens in terms of the confirmation hearings, in terms of the individual meetings that Senator Markwayne Mullin has with the senators who are going to be making a decision as to whether they should confirm him or not. And then we'll have more to say once that unfolds. But at the moment, it's not like Kristi Noem was the one who was involved in negotiating anything. She was a corrupt lackey. So we were dealing with the White House before, and we're going to continue to deal with the White House at this point in terms of whether there's going to be movement or not. I will tell you that Pam Bondi, she's got to go, and Stephen Miller has got to go. And we're going to approach those two toxic individuals with the same intensity that has now led to the termination of Kristi Noem.
You're saying with Mullen though that he has to confirm. Can't he just work on an acting capacity, and that would mean that you have to work with him in the meantime?
No.
Thank you. Obviously, there are 2 votes this afternoon on the War Powers resolution. Some of your members are seemingly wavering. How do you expect it to go? And if it does not move forward, will you then support the alternate that was also brought up?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we're focused on securing strong Democratic support for this War Powers resolution. We believe that Donald Trump needed to get authorization for engaging in a war. He admits it's a war. The so-called Secretary of Defense, the most unqualified person to ever hold that position as well, he acknowledges that it's a war. And the Constitution is not ambiguous on this subject. And there's a reason. The framers were very clear. They wanted to make sure that the people's house, that the most direct representatives of the American people were the ones who could weigh in on issues of war and peace, so that we could press an administration as to whether they have a plan. What's the justification for sending American men and women into a theater of war, risking their lives? As we've seen, we've already tragically lost 6 heroic servicemen and women. And we mourn for them, and we pray for their families. And we don't want to see any more American lives lost in Trump's war of choice. And so we're going to continue to engage with members over the next few hours in advance of the vote. There is going to be strong Democratic support and bipartisan support. And we're hoping that just a handful of additional Republicans beyond the 2 who have publicly said they're with us will do the right thing on behalf of the people that they are privileged to represent, so we can enact this War Powers resolution. George Washington said in his farewell speech to the nation, and I've never forgotten this upon reading it, it wasn't there at the time, that the Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That was his farewell message, final public speech to this new nation. The Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That means everybody. There's no Trump exclusion. There's no wannabe king exclusion. There's no autocratic exclusion in the Constitution. It's sacredly obligatory upon all. And we just need our Republican colleagues to get some guts at this moment, as Rand Paul said yesterday, get some guts and start acting like you're part of a separate and co-equal branch of government.
On the subject of Iran, the administration and Republicans have said there may be a need for a supplemental funding request. What is House Democratic leadership's position on a potential supplemental request?
Yeah, we haven't had any conversation about the possibility of a supplemental funding request, because at the moment, the administration can't even provide a justification for why we're in this.
Okay, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries with plenty of comment on Secretary Kristi Noem being fired from her position ahead the Department of Homeland Security, including the the comment that they said it could that could happen the easy way or the hard way, and he's chosen the easy way. He's there presumably referring to President Donald Trump in getting rid of Kristi Noem from the secretary position at the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, we're going to close the show with a piece of local news here. The case of Angelina Resendez, the disappearing and death of Angelina Resendez, a seaman from Naval Station Norfolk, has been a story we have covered closely for a long time now. And Jeremiah Copeland, the person accused in this case, now appearing in court or scheduled to appear in court this week, and we know that the judge has denied Jeremiah Copeland's request to block cell phone evidence in the Resendez murder case. That update coming today from our reporter Madison Schlegel. Navy Seaman Jeremiah Copeland remains accused of killing Seaman Angelina Resendez as a judge denies a defense motion to suppress cell phone evidence. So an update in that case, and a case that we will continue to keep you updated on as things go along. Copeland was in court today, confirmed by our web article, alongside his attorneys, displaying moments of stoicism as well as occasional laughter. The judge considered 3 motions brought by Copeland's defense team. And that will bring us to the end of our show today on a Thursday where it is quite nice outside. We encourage everyone to get outside, enjoy some of this sunshine, and then join us again tomorrow for one more day of live Impact News This Week.